Alrighty, another busy Saturday action around MLS is in the books, and this was once again a rough day for goalkeepers around the league because we definitely saw some goalkeeping blunder around the league in terms of the Saturday action. And what makes it worse is that those goalkeeping blunder turns out to be the winning goal for the other team. But let us actually begin by talking about the first game, and also I am actually going to talk about El Trafico last because, with El Trafico and how crazy the game is, and we definitely saw another wild one, I'm actually going to talk about that one last. So if you really want me to talk about that game, there is the timestamp in the description of when I am going to talk about El Trafico, and most importantly, kind of break down that very controversial disallowed goal that LAFC had late in that game. But let us begin by talking about Orlando City taking on the Chicago Fire. And for Orlando, they did get the 1-0 win against the Fire and hand the Fire their first loss of the season. But in many ways, they should have won more than the 1-0 scoreline. I mean, they had a lot of chances in this game, and they were pretty fortunate that them not able to kill the game off did not come back to haunt them. Now, in the first half, Slonina was able to deny Kara, who was through on goal, as I thought Orlando controlled the game early. Pato missed just wide from 17 yards out before Galese denied Gutierrez from 14 yards out. And it was a lively start to this game, which is definitely a good thing to see because, usually with early games, they tend to be slow, and especially with this game being on Twitter and so forth. With a lot of these Twitter games, it has not been good whatsoever, so I was worried that this was going to be the case once again, especially the last time when both of these teams face off against each other. But it was a lively start to this game. Pato then put one over the bar from 20 yards out in the 22nd minute before Shabilko curls one high from close range. Then Matinho fires one high from close range, and then Torres had another chance for Orlando, but he puts that one over the bar. And again, this game, it could have been easily 1-0 in favor of either of these teams if the finishing was a little bit better from both of these attackers in this one. Though in the 44th minute, we did had a game-changing moment when Gutierrez, of course, got his second yellow card in the 44th minute. Now, I'm not going to lie, I think that was a really soft second yellow, and I get that, yes, the referee was right there, and that, when you're, of course, on a yellow card, you obviously have to be very careful with some of your fouls, and that, I guess, maybe that might be the reason why he deserved a second yellow card. But we'll talk about there was an incident in this game between Inter Miami versus New England where, if you're a Chicago fan and you also watch this game, you will know that there's also an incident that you have every right to be very, very angry about the Gutierrez second yellow card here. But nevertheless, the Fire was down to 10 men for the remaining of the game as we head to halftime scoreless. And in the second half, you can see the Lions, they smell blood in terms of trying to get the opening goal. Pato skies one into the stands in the 46th minute as Orlando was immediately pressing for an opener heading into the second half. Pato then had a shot that was deflected and it goes wide. I thought Pato had a good game in this one, even though, he also were one of those players that had many chances and just could not put it away. But one player that did put it away is Kara. He would score his first goal in the 58th minute, or I should say his first career MLS goal, and it's been long overdue. I mean, it's been a long way for Kara to finally get off the schneid, and he finally did in this case, as he scored here from Pato and Torres to give Orlando City a 1-0 lead. There was a shout for a penalty for Orlando that was not given in the 72nd minute before Slonina denied Pato, and then on the follow-up, Kara, I know he did score a goal in this one, but he clearly should have scored this one. I mean, it almost felt like he'd gone back to hit the form in the beginning of the season where he's having a lot of trouble in terms of putting the ball into the back net, as he basically had an empty net to head this one in, and basically he heads that one high. Michel then missed wide from close on the header in the 76th minute, and I even wrote, will these missed chances come back to haunt Orlando? Because we've seen this so many times before where, yes, even though you're up a man, but you miss those chances and it's going to come back to bite you. And especially with this season of how it seemed like there always is a case where even with the team down to 10 men, they'll always find a way to get a late equalizer in this game. Ofor tried to do so as he drew one wide from close range in the 81st minute, that is. And then Pato struck the post in the 88th minute, almost pretty much killed this game off for Orlando City. But in the end, Orlando was able to win 1-0 in this one. And the shots in this one, 21 shots per the 7 that the Fire has, 6 shots on goal per the 2 that the Fire has, 13 shots off target per the 2 that the Fire has, 3 shots that is blocked per the 2 that Orlando has, and Orlando had majority of the possession, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that Chicago has in this game. And, you know, again, I know Orlando fans will be frustrated that they didn't win more, but a win is a win, and they get all 3 points in this game against a team that has been very stingy on the defense. And, you know, for the Fire, I mean, you know, you knew that they were up against it when they were down to 10 men for the remaining of the second half. But they were hoping that they might be one of those teams that, like I said, you know, it seems like whenever a team goes down to 10 men, you cannot count them out, especially with some of the crazy comeback with teams that is down to 10 men in the latter part of this game. But unfortunately, the Fire wasn't able to do so, and now they're going to have to try to bounce back after this tough resort. But moving on, in terms of the next match, it's Miami. So I know I've said before that, you know, in that El Trafico, whoever wins that game, I'll wear the jersey in the review. And, you know, as a little spoiler alert, the Galaxy, of course, won at El Trafico, and you were expecting me to wear a Galaxy jersey. But it turns out I actually am going to wear my Inter Miami jersey because they finally get their first win of the season against New England. And, you know, coming into this game, I did say that this is a desperation derby for both of these teams, and that both of these teams are desperate in terms of getting a win. And early on, it looked like New England might have got that desperation win that they desperately needed coming into this game. Though in the 3rd minute, Mota did came the closest for both teams early to put the ball into the back of the net as he struck the post from a 21-yard free kick. Kessler then hits it high from close range in 7 minutes. Before in the 11th minute, New England takes the lead. And it's Justin Retnick's, his first career MLS goal from Jones and Tristensen to give New England a 1-0 lead. And you just kind of had a sense that, yep, this is basically going to be a walkover for the refs, because we know that Miami, as soon as they give up the first goal, this is a team that just kind of completely capitulate. And you're just thinking that the refs are going to have an easy day in this one. But turns out that was not the case today, because that lead did not last long, as in the 17th minute, Campana would score from Lassiter to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and then 6 minutes later, Campana would score again, this time from Robinson and Gregory to make it 2-1 in favor of Inter Miami. So in a span of 6 minutes, Inter Miami completely turned this game on its heads, and that, yeah, the refs, they were pretty shell-shocked in terms of them going from being 1-0 up. It looks like they were going to have a comfortable win in South Florida to now facing against it on the road. And let's also not to mention that the refs' defense, which this season has not been good whatsoever, yeah, the struggle continued. That goal that they gave up in the 23rd minute, there was just no defense that was played from the refs in that play. And then in the 28th minute, Matt Camara, I thought he got away with a second yellow card after just a crunching challenge on Mota. And this is also where I go back to, I talked about earlier, where, you know, the Gutierrez one that got him a second yellow card, and that, you know, if you're a Fire fan and you kind of saw that challenge, yeah, you might be even more irate, because if that is not worthy, like, I feel like that is probably worthy more of a second yellow card than the one that Gutierrez basically had. And that, yeah, again, I thought Matt Camara is very lucky that the fact that he did not get a second yellow card. If the referee in this game was basically refereeing this one, there's no doubt that Matt Camara would 100% get sent off in that situation. But yeah, in the 29th minute, Campana did try to go for a Hattie, but he missed high on a header. Then Mota drive one from long range in the 38th minute, and I wrote this was probably the best that Miami has played all season long. I mean, it's been a miserable season for Phil Neville's side, but this was probably the most complete first half that they have looked this season. But like I said, just because they play a complete half, the question is, can they continue heading into the second half as they lead 2-1 into the second half? And it seemed like they did continue that, because in the 49th minute, Lassiter almost made it 3-1, but he blasted that one high before Robinson did the same thing, this time from close range. And I wrote, you know, Miami picked up where they left off, and they were trying to kill this game off and pressing for not a second goal, but actually a third goal in that one. I actually wrote it wrong in terms of the notes there. But then in the 65th minute, a penalty was given to New England after Damian Lowe brought down Redknapp's in the box, and Heel was able to take advantage of that penalty and score to tie the game up at 2 apiece. And you just feel like with that goal that New England got the equalizer, I'm pretty sure every Miami fans knew that here we go again. Like this is even as great as we have played, and this is probably the best we have looked this season. This is probably a point when we start to see the usual collapse from this team. But if there is one thing that maybe give Inter Miami fans some small hope, is the fact that New England this season, they have really struggled in terms of the final 15 minutes of this game. In fact, they're the worst team in terms of conceding goals in the final 15 minutes, conceding 5 goals so far this year in the last 15 minutes. And that stat turns out to be 6 goals in the final 15 minutes, because after there was some pushing and shoving from both teams in the 82nd minute, in the 88th minute, Campana would complete his hat-trick as he scored here to make it 3-2 in favor of Inter Miami, but this was more because of an absolute blunder from Brad Knighton. I mean, there's a reason why New England are desperate in terms of finding a goalkeeper, and as I mentioned, with them getting Georgi Petrovic recently, it seems like he's probably going to be thrust into the number one spot once Matt Turner, eventually does return for a short term before going to Arsenal in the summer, because this was just a mistake that if Turner was in net, he probably wouldn't have give up this goal. Like this was just Knighton unable to kind of corral that ball, and Campana was able to take advantage of that. And just like that, Miami was up 3-2 in this game, and they would hold on to get the victory in this one. As the shots in this one, 11 shots compared to just 6 that New England has. 4 shots on goal for the 3 that the Revs had. 2 shots off target compared to 5 that Miami has. 1 shot that was blocked for the 2 that Miami has. And possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that Inter Miami has in this game. And also for the first time in Bruce Arena's career, he has saw his team lost 4 in a row. I mean, it's quite amazing, the fact that it has taken this long for Bruce Arena to had such a losing streak like that. But for this Revs team, I mean, I don't want to say that they should be going in full mode panic right now, because we're still relatively early in the season, but there is no doubt that there is some huge concern in this team. And I know that this was also a game where they were missing some key guys, and that they're hoping that once they do get some of those key guys like Buxa, who was suspended in this game, and hopefully get Bo back, who is still on the IR right now, they're hoping that things would get much better, because right now, it is not getting any better. Though I will say that even if they do get some of their starters back, you got to question the defense of this team. Like, this defense that last season was one of the best in the league, there's kind of trying to mirror the same thing that happened to Columbus, where how last season when Columbus went from one of the best defense in the league to the worst defense in the league, the Revs are basically doing the same thing, and they just got to figure it out, because it's one thing to get off to a slow start to the season, but if this continues, then I can maybe start to tell who maybe is the most disappointing team this season that clearly fall flat from the high expectation that this team had in the beginning of the season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Red Bulls versus Montreal, and this was another game where there was a goalkeeping howler, and another game where the goalkeeping howler led to the winning goal in this one. And this time it's the Red Bulls that fell into the victim of a goalkeeping howler, and really kind of let this game got away from them against Montreal. Now, early on in the 7th minute, former Miami player Lewis Morgan almost gave the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead, but he hits one just high from 22 yards out. The Red Bulls had all the possession early in the first half, and they were rewarded by that by getting the game's opening goal in the 14th minute, as Omar Fernandez would score from Laquinias to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. I thought Laquinias had a really good game, and he's really started to kind of play as good as the Red Bulls were advertised that he could be when he came to this team not long ago. There was a chance for a second goal for the Red Bulls after there was some chaos in the box, and during that chaos in the box, Kai Kamara actually not only had to clear the shot off the line once, but he had to do it twice in the same sequence. I mean, it's not very often you see the same player clear the ball off the line in the same sequence, but that's what happened to Kai Kamara in this one. Though Mihajlovic had a chance to tie the game up for Montreal, but the post kind of got in the way of that. Cornell then denied Miller in the 35th minute, and all of a sudden Montreal was pressing to try to get the equalizer. Like the momentum really swung to Montreal favorite. Ibrahim had a chance to do so, but he heads it wide from close range in the 38th minute, and we head to halftime with the Red Bulls leading 1-0. Now heading into the second half, whatever Gerhard Struver said to his team at halftime, I'm pretty sure he was not happy the fact that his team is letting Montreal back into the game. So in the beginning of the second half, the Red Bulls kind of took control of the game again. Lakinias almost scored his first career MLS goal as he bent it just wide from close range. Before in the 64th minute, Kinsman then fired one wide from close range as the Red Bulls was trying to kill, or actually not Kinsman. I'm sorry. That's there's no Red Bulls player that is called Kinsman. I meant Lakinias fires that one high. Keep in mind, I was doing this the writing the board as I was watching El Traficos, and there was like an interesting situation that I will talk about later. How we almost had Jonathan Kinsman had to come in for Bond, so that's why I wrote Kinsman there. And that again, there was no Red Bulls player that is named Kinsman. But yeah, Lakinias almost score his first goal here, but he fires that one wide, and the Red Bulls was pushing to try to kill this game off. But in the 71st minute, Montreal gets the equalizer, and it's Camacho scoring from Johnston to give Montreal the equalizer. I actually spelled Johnston wrong name. It's not Johnson. It's Alistair Johnston there. He again, that ties the game up at 1 apiece, and really that was terrible defending from the Red Bulls. Like Camacho was just wide open in the back post. Like you cannot let a player, especially with Rudy Camacho, and how he definitely is a dangerous threat in the air there, and let him wide open like that and not get punished. And yeah, the game was tied up at 1 apiece, and then just 10 minutes later, the goalkeeping blunder happened as Kyoto was on the beneficial end of a goalkeeping howler that Cornell has, and really everything went wrong for Cornell in this. I mean, first of all, he got pickpocketed by Kyoto as he was trying to punt that ball away. But what's also went wrong for Cornell in this one is that he came off his lines, even though Montreal was just playing a Route 1 ball, and there was even a Red Bulls player ready to kind of intercept that one, and that I don't know what Cornell was thinking of trying to come off his line. Like, there's no need for him to come off his lines like that when Montreal was just kind of playing a Route 1 ball. And, anytime when you decide to do that, you definitely puts the risk of when you don't get that one away, yeah, it could kind of create a bit of a blunder, and it seems like that is exactly what happened here. But although I will say that this was more like Cornell trying to clear, and he just kind of whiffs on it, and Kyoto basically took advantage of that one. But yeah, just like that, in a blink of an eye, Montreal was leading 2-1 in this one. Briza then had to deny Barlow, but there was a shout for a penalty for the Red Bulls, as they thought that Briza, when he made the save on Barlow, they kind of collide each other, and that of course should have been called a foul, but the referee didn't agree on that. And in the end, Montreal really kind of stole all 3 points in this one. I mean, this was really a smash and grab win for Montreal in this one, as they won 2-1 on the road against the Red Bulls. As the shots in this one, 15 shots per the 10 that Montreal has, 4 shots on goal per the 5 that the Red Bulls had, 8 shots off target for the 3 that Montreal has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Montreal has, and both teams have 50% possession each right now. And yeah, again, for the Red Bulls, this one, it's going to stink. And especially for Carlos Cornell, who has really been a great goalkeeper for the Red Bulls ever since he came in. But this was definitely a game he would like to forget, especially with the way that he gave what would be the winning goal for Montreal in this one with such a blunder. But speaking of goalkeeping blunder, we also had another goalkeeping blunder that led to the winning goal of the game for the other team. In this one between the Union versus Columbus. I mean, I swear, I think there might be actually a bonus kind of category this week of which goalkeeping blunder is the worst one. Is it the one that Marsman has, or the one that Cornell has, or actually not Marsman, I'm sorry, but Knighton has in this one, or Cornell has in this one, or in the case of Eloy Rome, who basically he just dropped the ball in this. And I don't mean it metaphorically, I actually mean that it's exactly what happened. Like, this ball was coming into the box. It looked like it was a routine catch for Eloy Rome, and he just kind of dropped it. And because of the way that the position that he was in, and the way that he kind of just swatted the ball back toward his own net, it went into the back of the net, and it turns out to be one of the craziest own goal and one of the worst goalkeeping blunder we've seen in recent memory. And that, of course, gave the Union a 1-0 lead. Though, they did try to push for a second goal when Hario just missed wide from close range. As I mentioned, Union was looking for a second goal. Mensah, on the other end, just heads it high from the corner in the 21st minute before Room did kind of redeem himself a little bit by denying Gastak from 8 yards out. Yoboa then hits one straight to Blake in the 39th minute. I thought the Crew was looking to try and press for the equalizer late, as they kind of really took the momentum in the latter part of the second, or not the second half, but the first half. Zarian hits one just high from 24 yards out off of a free kick. I mean, we've seen it come close a couple of times that Zarian almost puts it in that free kick, and that I would consider him to probably be the most dangerous free kick taker in the league. Like, anytime when you get into that distance, you know that, yeah, there could be a high percentage chance that Zarian would put it into the back of the net, but he just puts it high there on that free kick. And we head to halftime with the Union leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Artur would hit one straight to Blake before Blake had to deny Etienne and the Crew. They really kind of continue to pick up where they left off near the end of this first half, which is pressing for this equalizer. Though Carranza did hit one straight to Room in the 51st minute before Uru trying to score his first career MLS goal, but he missed that one badly in the front post. Then Room would absolutely rob Uru his first MLS goal from close range, and the momentum, that was with the Crew in the beginning of the second half, it came right back to the Union in a matter of just 5 minutes. Although Maria had a chance to tie the game up in the 63rd minute, but he hits one just high from 10 yards out. Santos then just missed wide from close range in the 70th minute before Room had to make another save. Great save, this time robbing Gastak on a 1v1. I mean, besides the blunder that Eloy Rome had in the beginning of the game, I thought he had a good game in this one. But, the old saying goes, for a goalkeeper, it doesn't matter how good you perform in a game. If you make one mistake, you will always be remembered there for that. And that just seems like what's the story for Eloy Rome, because it doesn't matter how good he is for the rest of the game. That goal that he can see in the second minute, especially, turns out to be the winning goal, was kind of just defined that this was not a great night for him, even with the incredible save that he has. But there was no doubt that as the crew or as the time winds down, the Crew was pressing to try to get an equalizer, and the Union was really starting to draw back their lines and were looking to try to hold on to a 1-0 lead, which in the end they were able to do so, as the Union, of course, get the win and extend their winning streak to 5 games in a row. And as I will talk about in that El Trafico, with LAFC losing that one, the Union is now the only team in the league to have yet to taste defeat this season. Shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 19 that Columbus had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has, 11 shots off target for the 3 that the Union has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that the Crew has, and possession-wise, 31% possession compared to 69% possession that the Crew has in this game. And overall, I thought that, this was definitely not one of the best games that the Union has had, but again, they are going to thank Eloy Rome for gifting them all 3 points, and for Columbus, again, in a game where I didn't think they played badly in this one, but like I said, that goal that they gave up in the second minute, yeah, that one is going to that is definitely going to sting. I mean, normally when you, of course, lose against the best team in the league, there's no shame in terms of that, and I'm pretty sure Caleb Porter will basically make that message to him, because I'm pretty sure he's not a guy that is just going to single out a player and throw him under the bus because of a loss. But when you give up the only goal and that goal turns out to be such a goalkeeping blunder, it's definitely going to be sting to this team, even if they were playing against the best team in the league. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the next 4 games that happen in terms of the busy Saturday action. So moving on, in terms of the next match, we got RSL versus Toronto FC. So last week, RSL was kind of lucky, the fact that they were able to escape Colorado with a point. despite the fact that they were outplayed badly against their Rocky Mountain rival. Well, in this game, they kind of got a taste of their own medicine, because this was a game where they pretty much outplayed Toronto for most part of this one, and yet, because of bad finishing, they were only able to get a point out of this one. Though early on in the first half, they actually got the opening goal as Justin Meram would score from Cordova to give RSL a 1-0 lead. That lead would not last long. In fact, it only lasts 90 seconds, because in the 9th minute, Thompson would score his first career MLS goal from Schaffelberg to tie the game up at 1 apiece. We fast forward in the 41st minute as Schmidt trying to retake the lead for RSL, but he fires that one high. But RSL did retake the lead just 2 minutes later, and it's Damir Kreilach, and I think this is his first goal of the season, because I don't recall Damir Kreilach actually score a goal so far in the beginning of the season, since he's been on the injury reserve for a bit. But he scored here from Chang to give RSL a 2-1 lead. It could have been 3-1 if McNulton, or actually it could have TFC actually almost topped the game up again there in the 2nd minute of stoppage time, when McNulton heads one high on the corner, and we had to have time with RSL leading 2-1 in that game. Now in the second half, Bono was able to deny Cordova in the near post before Miram was trying to curl one in but missed wide. But there's no doubt that RSL was hungry for a third goal, and I thought Miram should have got that third goal for RSL, as he missed an absolute sitter from 5 yards out. Cordova had a chance to do so in the 61st minute, but he also missed wide from close range. And then he had a chance again in the 74th minute, but he has that one wide from the corner. And like I said, as much as RSL was dominating in this game, you just kind of had a sense that, maybe it's going to come back to haunt them with all these missed chances. I mean, I know I said earlier it didn't come back to haunt Orlando, but when you're a team that is dominating and you don't put the game away, there is definitely a high percentage chance that you are vulnerable of conceding a goal on the other end and kind of getting sucker punched. And that's exactly what happened in this one. Because in the 80th minute, Nelson would score what could be the goal of the week to tie the game up at 2 apiece. Now, originally, they did go to VAR to see whether or not on the development of play did Nelson actually commit a foul on Kreilach. And after, when they go to VAR and they said that the goal, of course, was good, the RSL TV feed was still saying that that's no goal. And I'm not sure if they were paying attention in terms of the decision of the call, but yeah, that is... I mean, I'm assuming, nowadays, in terms of these TV broadcasts, there should be a producer that clearly tells them, what the decision is gonna be, because they spent a couple of minutes to realize that, that goal actually did count, and yeah, that, of course, tied it up at 2 apiece. I mean, in terms of looking at that, I think it is the right call, consider, it definitely looked like, Kreilach kind of ball hogged that ball a little bit, and even then, Nelson, I think he kind of got the ball on that clean challenges. Though, just a couple of minutes later, Toronto was down to 10 men when Salcedo basically got himself sent off after he put a high boot on Cordova. Now, I will say that this was kind of unfortunate for Salcedo, who, he was definitely trying to go for the ball, but he kind of put a high boot on and kind of connected to Cordova. But still, anytime when you put a high boot and when you commit that reckless of a challenge, yeah, you are basically risking of a reckless play, and I think it's still deemed to be a reckless play, no matter if you are trying to win the ball, and rightfully so. Salcedo, of course, get his marching order here, but RSL wasn't able to take advantage of being up a man for the last couple of minutes, as in the end, it ends in a 2-2 draw between both of these teams, as the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 7 that Toronto has, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that TFC had, 3 shots off target compared to 11 that RSL had. Both teams had 1 shot that was blocked, and possession-wise, TFC had slightly better the possession, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that RSL has in this game. And again, it just feels like it's 2-point shot for RSL after, last week it seems like they got a good point and kind of got away with it with the way that they were outplaying the game against Colorado. But in this one, they kind of got the taste of the medicine that Colorado had, and in a game that they were by far the better team, they weren't able to seal a victory in this one. But now moving on, in terms of the next game, is Dallas and Colorado Rapids. So speaking of the Rapids, this game kind of started promising for the Rapids, and then, yeah, after when Dallas got the equalizer, things kind of gone downhill a little bit for the Rapids. Though I will say that this is also a game where there was some crazy momentum swing that happened in this one. But in the first half, Rosenberry fired one high from close range. I mean, Rosenberry actually had a lot of chances in this game, and for a guy that is not known for taking long shots and scoring goals, this was definitely, it was kind of very surprised that he actually ended up on the board in terms of almost giving the Rapids a goal in this one more time or not. But just a couple of minutes later, Alves puts it high from 10 yards out before Paz denied Rubio from close range. There was no doubt that Colorado was the better team in the first 15 minutes, and they were knocking on the door to try to get the first goal. Paz was able to deny the former Dallas player Barrios in the 26th minute. Before in the 30th minute, unsurprisingly, the Rapids take a 1-0 lead, and it's Rubio scoring from Barrios and Estevez to give the Rapids a deserved 1-0 lead. However, right on the stroke of halftime, Dallas would equalize. It's Cervania with scoring here from Velasco to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And between this goal and the goal that Nelson scored in the 80th minute, yeah, that's going to be definitely we definitely will have some good competition of goal of the week, because this was just an absolute amazing strike there. Cervania basically hits this one from about 30 yards out. And yeah, the game was all tied up at 1 apiece as we head into the second half. And it seems like that tying goal that Dallas had really gave them the momentum, because Cervania in the 47th minute, after scoring an amazing goal, he thought, hey, why not try it again? See if that work out. And he actually puts this one on target too, but Yarbrough was able to be on point here to deny him. The momentum clearly was with Dallas, as I mentioned, after they got the equalizer. And in the 51st minute, Jesus Ferreira, who has been red hot for both Dallas and also for the national team, he would score here from Farfan to give Dallas the lead for the first time. It was almost 3-1 when Velasco almost get into the goal-scoring action, but he puts it high from close range. Velasco, another guy that has been in form for Dallas, aren't able to score a goal in this one, but I thought he had a good game too. O'Brien came close to getting that third goal. In fact, struck the post on a deflection shot before Rosenberry fires one high from close range in the 58th minute. And then Rubio tried to redirect a shot that just goes a little bit high. And all of a sudden, the momentum was back to Colorado. The momentum for a while was with Dallas. And then all of a sudden, it swing back to Colorado because they were trying to get the equalizer. Rosenberry then struck the post from close range in the 65th minute. Again, I'll tell you, Keegan Rosenberry, he was definitely not afraid to shoot in this one. But ultimately, Dallas did shut up shop in this one and kill this game off in the 89th minute. And it's Jesus Ferreira scoring for Cervania to make it 3-1 in this one. And that would be the final score of a very entertaining game between two very good teams. As the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 7 that Dallas had. Both teams had 6 shots on goal, 7 shots off target for the 1 that Dallas had. No shots that was blocked for the 3 that Colorado has. And possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Dallas has in this game. And again, both teams played well in this one, but in the end, Dallas was just a little bit more clinical in this one compared to the Rapids. And when you're the more clinical side, more times than not, you're going to come out with all 3 points, and that's exactly what the home team FC Dallas did in this one. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Houston and the Quakes. So I did say in the preview that I pretty much guaranteed that the Dynamo would get a win in this one, because like I said, anytime when the Quakes play against the Dynamo at BBVA, or right now it's called PNC Park down in Houston, it's an automatic win for the Dynamo. Like the Quakes still have not got a win against the Dynamo on the road since 2015, and that wait had to continue, because in this game I will say that this was kind of an unexpected scoreline that I was thinking would happen in this one, even though I'm pretty sure if you're a neutral, you kind of expected this with the way that anytime when the Quakes play, that there's going to be some fireworks, and there's going to be that scoreboard is going to light up, and that's exactly what happened in this one. And also, this was also kind of a game where defense decided to not show up in this game whatsoever from either of these teams, because in the first half, Jesus Ferreira, or not Jesus Ferreira, Sebastian Ferreira would score from Lundqvist to give Houston a 1-0 lead. Obviously, both Dallas and Houston will now have a Ferreira, and I'm pretty sure FC Dallas will brag the fact that their Ferreira is the better one, and so far they are right, because when you look at the stats, clearly Jesus Ferreira was doing much better than what Sebastian Ferreira has done for the Dynamo. But also, this was a huge goal for Sebastian Ferreira too, because this was finally his long-awaited first career MLS goal, and he really worked hard for it, because when you look at his start of his time with the Dynamo, I mean, I know he hasn't really quite lived up to the price tag that the Dynamo paid to get him, which was a record fee, but he finally get off the schneid here to give the Dynamo a 1-0 lead. But in many ways, yeah, JT Marcinkowski, he clearly should have done better in this sequence, and this was also another game where JT did not had a good game whatsoever. But then, just 17 minutes later, the Quakes would get the equalizer, and it's a Bovasi scoring from Cal and Espinoza to tie the game up at 1 apiece, and then just 3 minutes later, the Quakes would take the lead, and it's a Bovasi again scoring from Gregush to give the Quakes a 2-1 lead. And I mean, I didn't expect that this is how the script would turn, but even with this 2-1 lead, as I was kind of looking the score line while I was kind of just cheekily looking at the score line of this while I was working, even though I wasn't allowed to do so. I mean, I wasn't really that happy with the score line, not just because it means that I'm gonna have to apologize to Dynamo fans that I just jinxed them in the preview, but I knew that this lead is not gonna last long. I mean, I watched this team enough to realize that whenever they go on the road, and especially playing against Houston, where I've seen before where they actually have taken multiple goal lead against the Dynamo on the road, and you think this is finally the time that they end this curse that they have with whatever reason they cannot beat Houston on the road. And lo and behold, it's to no one's surprise that 15 minutes later that lead would evaporate, as Quintero would score to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I write typical Quakes defending here, because this all started from just a terrible giveaway from none other than Francisco Calvo, and then from then on it just kind of become comedic defending for the Quakes, where I thought JT did do a good job trying to punch that one out, but he didn't really punch it out in a way where it was not, it's still not in away from a dangerous area. And Quintero, who was just completely on mark, he basically redirect that one to a goal. And yeah, the game was all tied up at 2 apiece, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. But we won't be tied for very long, because in the 57th minute, teenage Hadabi would score his first career MLS goal to give Houston a 3-2 lead. So certainly this was a game for players to score their first career MLS goal. But I also wrote this was typical bad set piece defending for the Quakes. Like, there was just way too many Quakes players just kind of clogging the box there, and because of that, if the ball does come back into the 18-yard box, the Quakes was in serious trouble, because they're going to let so many players near the top of the box wide open like that. And it's unsurprising that Hadabe was just left completely alone. He struck it toward goal and puts it in. And yeah, Houston retakes the lead to make it 3-2 in this game. It would be 4-2 just 11 minutes later when Ferreira would score from Pico and Dorsey. And again, this is another one where I think JT should have saved this one. Like, this one, it was kind of hit toward him, and that he did kind of get a fingertip into it, but not enough to keep this one out. And yeah, just like that, the Dynamo was able to get a 2-goal lead in this one. It could have been 4-3 just a minute later if it wasn't for Clark denying Gregush, trying to rip one from long range. I mean, once in a while Gregush would score those long range effort. Not this time though. Before Dorsey trying to fire one into the back net from long range, but he hits that one high. I mean, if he would have put that one in, I would have write another typical Quakes defending there, where Dorsey just completely left on mark. Like, he basically had acres of space to shoot there, and if that one went in, I mean, I would have definitely wrote typical Quakes defending there. But in the 77th minute, the Quakes made the game a little interesting, as Tommy Thompson would score only his second career MLS goal. Well, actually, I'm sorry, his third career MLS goal, because I think he also scored one a couple of years ago, and then I remember he scored one against Atlanta on the 4th of July back in 2017. There was no doubt that this was a great goal for him, almost a Paul Marie kind of esque goal, because Paul Marie also scored an amazing goal against the Dynamo on the road in the season opener last year. But also, I thought that was poor set piece defending for the Dynamo this time. Again, defending in this game, we talk about how in that El Trafico game where defense can take a back seat, and as I will talk about that game just a bit, that was sort of the case. But this was also a game that was kind of like an El Trafico game where defense just decided to not show up in this one either, and that again it was poor set piece defending there from the Dynamo to leave Tommy Thompson with that much space to strike that one on the volley. And then it was almost 4-4 in the 84th minute if it wasn't for Ubobasi header to go straight to Clark. Like, for a second, I thought that was going in, but Clark was able to make a full stretch dive to not only save that one, but able to keep that one in his hands. The Quakes were no doubt pressing for an equalizer, while Houston, you can definitely see that they were just hanging on for dear life. Gregory Stan had a deflected shot from a free kick that goes straight to Clark. I mean, I thought Houston got lucky here on this free kick, because anytime when you set up the wall, that ball should not get through the wall off a deflection shot. Like, that was not a great wall that the Dynamo set up there, and they're very fortunate that deflected shot didn't go up into the back of net. And yeah, in the end, the Dynamo was able to hold on to win 4-3 in this game, and despite the Quakes tried their best to score another late goals and trying to create some late drama, as they have done a couple of times this season, it didn't work out this time. As the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 12 that Houston had, 7 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Quakes had, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that Houston has, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that Houston has, and possession-wise, 67% possession compared to 32% possession that Houston has in this game. And the only positive thing I will say about the Quakes in this game is that at least they kind of tried in this game, and they fought hard to make this game interesting. But honestly, let's be real. This team is clearly tanking to trying to get Almeida fire, and this is kind of just a performance that kind of sums up the Quakes seasons where they just cannot defend. I mean, in some way, the way this sums up the Quakes season is that when they can score a lot of goals, they can't defend. But when they can't score a lot of goals, they can defend. I mean, there's just no balance whatsoever. Kind of is the case with Almeida tenure for the Quakes, and why I've said so many times before that we are clearly losing this game because we are tanking to hope to put the pressure on the front office to eventually do the right thing, and that is let go of Almeida. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next game is Nashville getting back-to-back row win after this one against Sporting KC, and kind of did it in a way I did not expect them to get their second consecutive row win in this one against Sporting KC, because early on in the 3rd minute, Russell curls one just wide from close range before Mule almost score a goal similar to the one that he scored against Nashville, but only for this time. The goal, of course, was disallowed for offside. But Nashville did have a chance to get the opening goal not long after, as a penalty was given to them after Mukhtar was brought down by Ismail Marine. But unfortunately, Nashville wasn't able to take advantage of that, as Melia, knowing he is the best goalkeeper in terms of penalty kick situation, it's not a big surprise that he was able to deny Mukhtar from the spot. Though I will say that this was an absolute horror penalty from Mukhtar. I mean, what is it with Nashville in terms of penalty? Whereas they still haven't shake off the nightmare that they had in that conference semi-final game against the Union, where they become only the second team in MLS history to not convert any PK goal in a PK shootout. Because this one, Mukhtar just kind of hits it right to Melia, and that probably is the easiest save that Melia would ever had in terms of facing a penalty kick situation. Willis then denied Charity on the header, or actually before that, Willis was able to deny Sweat in the front post. I mean, that penalty save that Melia has really kind of give the momentum to Sporting KC, and they were looking to press for the opener, and they would get the opener in the 25th minute as Voltaire would score his first goal of the season from Sweat and Charity to give Sporting KC a 1-0 lead, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Though in the second half, it didn't take long for Nashville to tie the game up, as Romney would score in the 51st minute from Leao and Mukta to tie the game up at 1 apiece. I mean, this was just a trademark Nashville set piece. We know how dangerous they are in terms of set piece, and this was just so well worked for Nashville here, and rightly deserved for them to get the equalizer. Though Sporting KC looked to try to retake the lead as Felipe fired one wide on the free kick in the 56th minute. He would also strike it on a free kick again, this time from 30 yards out, but Willis was able to deny him this time. And Sporting KC, as I said, they looked like they got the momentum back and was pushing for the lead and the second goal back. But instead, in the 68th minute, it would be Nashville, the one that gets the second goal. And it's CJ Sapon scoring from Mule and Davis to give Nashville a 2-1 lead. But in many ways, again, just terrible defending from Sporting KC, because this all started from a throw-in. Like, anytime when a goal that all started from a throw-in, it's you got to question the defense by the opposition. And here it's just bad defending from Sporting KC here. And yeah, that gave Nashville a 2-1 lead. Almost was 3-1 just 2 minutes later, as Sapon were looking for a brace very quickly, but Melia was able to deny him there from 17 yards out. And as the time winds down, Nashville, they were going into their usual low block, which means that's bad news for Sporting KC, because anytime when Nashville goes into that low block, it is basically a nightmare to try to break them down. Though they did have a couple of chances, Sporting KC, to trying to tie the game up. Susie fired one just wide from long range before the post denied Sharawi and Sporting KC the equalizer in the 85th minute. Sapon almost had another chance to score his brace and almost had the chance to kill this game off for Nashville, as he actually went one-on-one with Melia. But knowing the fact that Melia is also one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper in one-on-one situation, it's not a big surprise he robbed him there in that situation. Before Sharawi just puts it high from long range in the first minute of stoppage time, and that was really the last chance that Sporting KC has had in this game. And in the end, Nashville able to hold on to win 2-1 in this one, as the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 18 that Sporting KC had, 6 shots on goal for the 5 that Sporting KC had, 8 shots off target for the 5 that Nashville has, 5 shots that was blocked for the 8 that Nashville has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Nashville has in this game. And again, for Nashville, back-to-back wins, and really kind of did it in a way where I didn't expect them to just kind of come from behind to get the victory against Sporting KC, but they did exactly that. And I think they're now in a very good position where I think they're right around the red line right now, where with all those games that they play on the road, as I mentioned, if they can get into that position, they're in a very good shape of making the playoffs with a lot of home games in the backlog of their schedule. But for Sporting KC, the early season struggle continues. I mean, again, this was a game where not only the attack once again sputter, but also the defense kind of gone to the ugly head again, where both of those goals that Sporting KC conceded was because of just one bad set piece defending, and then them just kind of giving up a goal that started from a throw-in. Like, anytime when you give up a goal that comes from a throw-in, it's not a good feeling. But that being said, I am now going to switch the board one more time, where I'm going to look at the last game that happened on Saturday, and then we do the mega review by talking about what in the world happened in El Trafico. So moving on into the last game of tonight is the Vancouver Whitecaps and the Portland Timbers, and boy did the Timbers need this one badly. I mean, for a team that had some MLS Cup aspiration and how much of a disastrous start of the season had been for this team, they need 3 points in this game against the Whitecaps, and they did exactly that, and did it again like last season, where they were the only team to be able to beat the Whitecaps at BC Place. Now, early on, I thought the Whitecaps controlled the game early, but neither team really had done much in the first 10 minutes. White puts it wide from 14 yards out before Paredes hits one straight to Hassan. Chara then missed just high from close range, as I thought, despite the fact that the Whitecaps did control the game early on, Portland was looking to try to press for the opener. And they had a chance to do so in the 35th minute, when there was a penalty that was given to the Timbers after VAR deemed that Dahomey was brought down by Larea in the box. By the way, VAR was used a lot in this game, and to my biggest surprise, when you look at the stoppage time, especially in the second half, shockingly, there wasn't a lot of stoppage time in the second half, and I think maybe some Whitecaps fans would be definitely complaining about that, considered we'll talk about later, where they clearly should have got more stoppage time in the second half. But here, as I said, a penalty was given to the Timbers, which Aspria was able to take advantage of to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead, and that would be the scoreline heading into halftime. Now, in the second half, there was a shout for a penalty for Vancouver as Ryan Gall thought that he was brought down in the box, but it wasn't given. Dahomey then thought he got the equalizer for the Whitecaps, but the goal was disallowed for offside. And then just 3 minutes later on the other end, Nishgoda finally gets on the score sheet for the first time this season from Blanco and Char to give the Timbers a 2-0 lead. And, that has to be a huge relief for Yaroslav Nishgoda, who has had a rough season so far for the Timbers. But that also is an absolute killer for the Whitecaps because, anytime you, of course, score on one end, but the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside, the last thing you want to do is give up on the other end in quick succession, and that is exactly what happened in this sequence for the Whitecaps. White did have a chance to get one back for the Whitecaps, but he hits one straight to Ivicic before Caicedo puts it wide from close range in the 64th minute. And, the Vancouver, they were definitely pressing to trying to get one back. Ivicic was able to deny Berhalter from close range in the 66th minute before he tipped a shot that White puts in the 71st minute. But then in the 75th minute, with all that pressure that the Whitecaps were putting on the Timbers, they finally got a deserved goal back as Dahomey would score from Caicedo and Brown to get this get the deficit back down to 1. And you're just thinking, well, this is pretty much going to be setting up for a very, very fantastic finish, and also a very nervy finish if you're a Timbers fan, with the way that, the Whitecaps were clearly pressing to trying to get a point or even all 3 points in this one. But then 3 minutes later, Jimmy Char basically said, no, that's not going to happen, because he scored here to make it 3-1 and restore the Timbers' 2-goal advantage. Though in the 85th minute, Vancouver were looking to try and set up the grandstand finish again, as a penalty was given to them as VAR deemed that Bravo brought down goal in the box. Originally, it wasn't called a penalty, and they did go to VAR to check to make sure if that call is overturned. It was overturned, and the Whitecaps had a chance to pull within 1 again and set up a grandstand finish. But unfortunately, that did not happen, because Ivicic was able to deny Dahomey from the spot. I mean, it was not a bad penalty for Dahomey. Definitely better than the one that Mukta, of course, tried to score in the game against Sporting KC. But, Ivicic able to make a big save in this one. Though he almost made a huge mistake in the second minute of stoppage time, as he almost kind of let one slip out of his finger after he was able to corral a ball. I mean, he almost had a similar moment that both Cornell, Knighton, and Rome suffer earlier today with some goalkeeping blunders that we've seen in today's action. But in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, another penalty was given to the Vancouver Whitecaps, and again, it's Bravo, the one that was the culprit in terms of giving away a penalty, as this time he brought down Caicedo in the box. They didn't also go to VAR to check to see whether or not if the PK was going to stand, so this was a little bit different, where this one they go to VAR to check whether or not if it is a penalty to overturn the original call. This one was just checking to make sure that it is a penalty, and it was. And this time Ryan Gall stepped up and able to convert the penalty to make it 3-2 in favor of the Timbers. And again, up to that point, and I think I haven't mentioned it, there was only 4 minutes of stoppage time in the second half, which I think that is absolutely criminal. The fact that there was only 4 minutes of stoppage time in the second half, considered there was so much stoppage in terms of the VAR that was being used. And I thought the Whitecaps were going to at least get a couple, or they were going to get at least 4 minutes to get themselves the equalizer. But nope, instead the referee just blew the whistle in the 6th minute of stoppage time. And yeah, I mean, the Whitecaps really never had a lot of time to get going to mount for their late charge, and in the end, the Timbers were able to survive and win 3-2 in this game. Shots in this one, 17 shots compared to just 5 that the Timbers had, 4 shots on goal compared to 7 that Vancouver has, 7 shots off target compared to 1 that the Timbers had, no shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 50% for both of these teams. And again, for the Timbers, they desperately needed this, and let's see if this maybe be a springboard for them to dig themselves out of a deep hole that they kind of dug themselves in with with them only winning 1 out of their first 6 games. But for the Whitecaps, the struggle can continue, and they're at a point where they just cannot afford to drop home points or even lose at home with how slow of a start that they have been. And this result definitely does not help the cause of them also trying to get themselves out of a deep hole that they dug themselves in because of a slow start under Vanni Sartini's first full season. But that being said, let us now talk about El Trafico, because I'm pretty sure everybody's been waiting for this moment for me to talk about El Trafico and what exactly happened in this game. And what happened in this game was kind of a very typical El Trafico affair, where I know the scoreline doesn't indicate that, and I've said before in the preview, I know that lately El Trafico hasn't been really a lot of high scoring affair as what we've seen in the first couple of one, but believe me, some of these El Trafico games are still very entertaining, and we kind of got another one of them where it was a seesaw affair at time, where it was end to end at time, and it was kind of a track meet between both teams to see who can of course score the next goal. But most importantly, we're definitely going to go in depth in terms of talking about that controversial call in the last kick of the game, where LAFC felt that they got the equalizer late in the game, only to be chopped off of a very controversial offside call that VAR basically look at and disallow that potential late equalizer for LAFC. But early on in the first half, Bond was able to deny Cifuentes, as we're already off on the El Trafico crazy train, because anytime when you have a chance so early in the game, this is going to be one of those El Trafico where there's going to be a lot that's going to happen. Chicharito then fired one high on the free kick in the 5th minute before Brian Rodriguez unfortunately had to be subbed off with a hamstring injury, and Tajiri Shradi did replace him. And it's such a shame the fact that he had to be subbed off with a hamstring injury, because you can definitely see that with this game, of how big this game is, you just don't want to see anybody come off of an injury, and that you can definitely see that Rodriguez was reduced to tears when he came off because of that one. But Tajiri Shradi, as I mentioned, replaced him, and then just a couple of minutes later, we saw the first goal of El Trafico, and it's none other than Chicharito scoring here from Grancier and Vasquez to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. But what in the world was LAFC backline thinking of leaving Chicharito wide open in the back post? Like, it's already bad alone to let Chicharito have even tiny bit of space in the box, but when you leave him wide open like that in the back post, yeah, you're basically asking to get score on, and it's unsurprising that is exactly what happened, and that the Galaxy take a 1-0 lead. Though 9 minutes later, Vela almost responds. He actually hits the post after a WTF turnover from the Galaxy, and in some way he probably should have scored, because he went through on goal, and usually when Vela goes through on goal, 9 out of 10 times he puts that one in the back of the net. But he hits the post here, and that would have been just a perfect script that Fox was hoping, where they already got Chicharito scoring on one end. Now they just need to hope that Vela can do it on the other. And Vela did kind of score a couple of times, but I'll also talk about how LAFC just had so much bad luck in this game in terms of having goals disallowed in this one. There was then some chaos in the LAFC box, but the Galaxy couldn't capitalize in the 24th minute. And then Vela thought that he scored the equalizer for LAFC, but the goal was disallowed for offside, and it was very close. Like, it was one of the tightest offside calls that we've seen in this game. Probably even tighter than what I'll talk about, the controversial goal that was disallowed for offside in the last kick of the game. But nevertheless, I think it is the right call. And keep in mind, on the field, that call was offside, so you need some definitive evidence to overturn that. And when you look on the replay, I don't think there was definitive evidence to overturn it. So in the end, that was the right call, and it turns out to be huge for the Galaxy, because in the 31st minute, Koulibaly would score from Grancier and Edwards to give the Galaxy a 2-0 lead. I believe that's Koulibaly's first goal for the Galaxy and his first career MLS goal, and if that is the case, what a way to score your first career MLS goal in El Trafico, in probably the biggest game that the Galaxy is going to face this season. There was a shout for a penalty for LAFC on the other end, but this one was not given in the 37th minute, and we had to have time and have a time to kind of breathe for 15 minutes in this El Trafico, with the Galaxy leading 2-0. Now, in the second half, Vela thought that he scored again in this just 2 minutes into the second half, but once again he was denied because the flag came up. This time I think it was the right call again, and it wasn't as close as this one. Actually happened on the development of the play. Efrain Alvarez then had a shot that was deflected wide from 18 yards out before Bond had to deny Morelos from close range. And I really started to think that this was kind of the moment where we really saw one team start to dominate, because up to this point it was still end-to-end action and both teams was getting some chances. But this is when LAFC really started to take control, and they were really trying to press to get one back. Bond denied Acosta from close range in the 58th minute before Acosta trying to curl a free kick that goes straight to Bond. Tajuri Shradi, I thought he should have scored here. Like, he basically had a big opportunity in the back post, and he couldn't connect the volley cleanly. In fact, I think Stu Holding even mentioned the fact that he didn't even need to hit that one on the volley. He should have just gone with his head, and I had to agree with him. I mean, that one, I feel like Tajuri Shradi could have just hit that one in instead of maybe let that ball bounce once and take that one off the volley, because at the end of the day it's always tougher to try to hit a ball off of a volley instead of trying to hit that one in. And yeah, that was just a combination of bad decision by Tajuri Shradi to take that one on the volley, and even worse finishing from him, just completely whiffs on that one. But despite the fact that I did say that LAFC really started to gain attraction, the game kind of started to become a track meet once again. And, I thought that was also in favor of LAFC. I think there was multiple times that John Strong or Stu Holden mentioned this is definitely not good for the Galaxy, because they do not want to, first of all, they don't want to just kind of sit back as what we saw for a majority part of this second half and absorb pressure against this LAFC attack, because we know that the Galaxy defense, which they definitely shown their vulnerability in this game, it just doesn't seem like they're going to keep a hold on this LAFC attack. But also, if they kind of turn this game into a track meet, that favors LAFC, because that means that their attackers are going to get acres of space to already break down this relatively weak Galaxy defense. And lo and behold, in the 79th minute, LAFC got one back, and it's Chicho Arango that gets one back for LAFC to make it a 2-1 lead. And I even wrote, buckle your seatbelt, boys and girls, because this crazy train is about to go off the rail. And I also kind of stole a little bit of a quote that Stu Holding kind of mentioned a couple of times in this game, where he keep talking about how this game is going to go off the rail, and it kind of did, even though it wasn't on the score sheet. And in the 82nd minute, Arango looked like he did get the equalizer and scored 2 goals in quick succession, but a foul was given after he collided Bond in the box. And again, I think that's the right call. You can clearly see that as he reached that one, he basically collided into Bond, and the goalkeeper will always get the benefit of the doubt there. Then Cabral had a chance to put the game away as he went through on goal, but I kind of knew that as soon as he went through on goal, and I'm pretty sure every Galaxy fans knew in that stadium, which, by the way, in that stadium, you did see a lot of white inside of it, but you also saw some black, especially in the visitor section. There was a huge swamp of LAFC supporter, as it's supposed to be in El Trafico, attending this game at Dignity Health Sports Park. But I'm pretty sure everybody knew that Cabral was going to miss that, because with how bad of a form that Kevin Cabral has in, you knew he wasn't going to put that one away. And it's pretty much to no one's surprise that he basically did a typical Cabral and basically hit a weak shot right into the hand of Crapo. Alvarez, though, he did kind of had a second opportunity, and as I said, Alvarez was the one that had a second chance, but he couldn't keep his composure too. And again, he was also another player that was thinking already about the headline of how he can score the third goal to kill this game off, and he puts that one high. And then on the other end, Tajuri Shradi missed wide from close range in the 89th minute. Before this is where we get to the controversy of the game, and I actually spent about 15 to 20 minutes looking at the replay of this game, because this is going to be just a talking point throughout the rest of the week in El Trafico, and I know the media is going to be talking about this. And that, of course, is the potential equalizer that LAFC had. And it was actually Blessing the one that scored this one, and there was kind of a chaos in the box that led to this goal. But they did go to VAR to see whether or not if the goal was disallowed, and they did. And let me just explain why exactly this is the right call, because originally I think when I first look at it, I kind of agreed of what Stu Holding kind of mentioned of how he even said that he didn't agree with this call and he didn't like the way that this game ended. But I did look at it, a lot of time, and there's actually 3 incidents in this sequence that I think you could clearly say that there was offside against LAFC. The first incident is that when Vela played this ball to Mamadou Fall, and even though I know this one kind of took off a deflection off of both Blessing and Depew, the Galaxy defender, both of those guys did not deliberately play that ball. And as long as if you have your own teammate or a defender not deliberately play the ball and that ball reached to the intended target, and that intended target is in an offside position, that's offside. And that, of course, is the case in this. And then incident number 2 of a potential offside in that sequence is that, let's say if Blessing did actually touch that one and he deliberately do it, even when he deliberately touched this one, and basically it also took a deflection of a Depew before it ends up to Fall. When Blessing touched this one, Fall was in an offside position too. So even then, that would have been called offside. And then the third incident actually is not offside against Fall, as it was the case after they go to VAR. The third incident was when Fall actually struck this one, that Depew actually blocked this one, and Blessing basically took the rebound and basically scored on this play. Blessing was actually in an offside position when Fall basically struck this one toward goal. And remember, just because a goalkeeper or a defender blocks a shot off the line doesn't mean it resets the offside situation. I mean, if you're a player that is in an offside position and a goalkeeper or a defender saves it and you tapped it in, you always see that the goal, of course, was disallowed for offside. And in this case, yeah, Blessing was in an offside position when Fall basically struck this one in, and therefore that, of course, is the third incident. But like I said, they did go with the first incident where, all along Fall was in an offside position when that ball was played in. And again, in the end, I gotta give credit to the referee and VAR getting this one right. And what's also interesting is the fact that they didn't spend a lot of time to get this right. Like, they actually did a relatively quick job in terms of looking at it and deciding that this goal, of course, was disallowed. I mean, I've seen before where there's times where they could have easily got this one wrong because of the heat of the moment, but also could be a situation where it can take a very long time, and it could also be very messy in terms of how they eventually would get it right. But here, they did probably the best job I've ever seen with them quickly look at it and eventually decide that it is it is going to be offside, and the goal, of course, was disallowed. Though one thing that I actually didn't like what they did in this at the end of the game is that was actually literally the final play of the game. And when that incident happened, there was actually 8 minutes of stoppage time in this. That incident happened in the 6th minute of stoppage time. And I know the LAFC player were arguing, and it took a couple of minutes for them to argue and stuff like that. And, I know some might say, well, maybe those LAFC players shouldn't just argue and just kind of quickly reset play so that they, or let the Galaxy quickly reset play so that they can maybe chase the game late in this one. But here's the thing. When you're in this kind of environment and you just had a goal that is disallowed, and I know a lot of those LAFC players probably didn't see the replay, they have every right to be mad in that heat of the situation. And the fact that the referee didn't even allow the Galaxy to kind of put this one back into play, I mean, it's just such a shame. Like, I feel like that's where it kind of ended. That's where maybe people kind of feel like it was a bit of disappointed that that's how the game, of course, ended with this controversial call that we'll be talking about throughout the week. But I guess maybe that's just a way for just kind of a good talking point, and especially, throughout this whole week, the media is going to be talking a lot about that call, which, again, it might be controversial, but at the end of the day, they did get the right call. But in terms of shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 9 that the Galaxy had, 7 shots on goal compared to 2 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that the Galaxy had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that the Galaxy has in this game. And, I'm not going to read too much out of this one because, anytime when you have an El Trafico, things are going to be crazy, but I'm pretty sure LAFC will be very disappointed because, you know, again, they were on the wrong end of just a crazy game again, and that, you know, they were just a little bit more clinical in terms of their finishing. They probably would have won this game. But having said that, I think this was also a game where, you know, yes, there was 3 goals that's been scored here, but it could have been much more if both of these teams would have been a little bit more clinical. Like, this could have easily been something similar to what we see in the first couple of El Trafico, where that's where it got that reputation of being the so-called best rivalry in the league because of those high-scoring affair, and that it seems like defense will always take a backseat in terms of this game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 10 of these games. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of all 10 of these games, and especially El Trafico, and let me know in the comments below your reaction to that controversial call late in the game, because again, it's going to be a huge talking point throughout the week. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.